Cranberry Township, one of the fastest growing townships in Pennsylvania, is growing by leaps and bounds even as we speak. And their traffic situation is being handled and maintained and administered in a very positive, automated way. We'll talk about that in a moment or so. Also, we'll talk about their sewer expansion. Their sewer treatment plant is being expanded to the extent of $45 million. So let's first go to the traffic control location to let you know how that system is working for Cranberry Township. Marty McKinney is the manager of traffic operations here in Cranberry Township. Now, Marty, Cranberry Township has been known for a long time as one of the fastest growing townships in Pennsylvania. And with that comes a huge influx of traffic. And I understand that up to 125,000 cars a day come through this area. What kind of controls do you have here today, right here and now?
Well, what we deploy is a very comprehensive, centralized traffic operations system. It's manufactured by a company in California known as Econolite, and the operating system is known as Centrax. And really what happens is each one of the traffic signals that's connected to the system in Cranberry talks to the central operating system, deadheads back here in this room, and allows us to oversee, monitor, maintain, check operation, do a tremendous amount of traffic signal functionality from right here in this office.
Now, obviously, it's not all automatic. Suppose you're looking up at one of these monitors and there's a huge backup for whatever reason. What do you have to do to change all that to get those cars to move?
Well, what we first look to do is see what is causing the backup. Is it just an accident or a police action where they may be writing a ticket? Is there a broken down vehicle? And then we might work to dispatch appropriate public safety people. If in fact it's a major traffic incident where, say, 79 is closed, we have in our disposal, in our bag of tricks, traffic plans that we can engage based on what's going on where, to actually what we'll tell the traffic signals to do to help keep traffic moving, because that's really one of our #1 priorities here in Cranberry, is to keep people moving.
I know you've got computers and all kinds of exotic equipment here. When there's no emergency, when there's no long backup at any particular place, what controls the traffic and how does it control?
Well, what happens is we do some significant base timing principles. We study when people are moving in traffic where, what times of day, what days of the week, and we've developed with the engineering community a very significant base timing plan. And when everything is status quo, the base timing plan takes over and just keeps running and running and running. What we try to do here in Cranberry with some grant funding is modernize that plan every couple of years, which helps keep everything to the best that it possibly can be.
So the system is not completely automatic. You have to monitor it to make some changes when they're necessary. But with the automatic system, how do you get the information back here? What kind of methods and technology do you have out there?
Well, back in the late 90s, Cranberry Township felt it was imperative that we start managing traffic, and we started installing a fiber optic backbone. So we have a very comprehensive, very complex fiber optic network that ties all of our buildings and facilities together, and that was added to on top of the traffic signal system. So most of the traffic signals that you see out in Cranberry are tied to this room with a fiber optic cable.
Now, there is all kinds of equipment out there. What kind of equipment is that?
It has some technical jargon, but at every intersection there's a big silver box, and it has some computers and the traffic signals and a bunch of wiring. There's the computer is the main brain of the intersection. There's a bunch of safety devices and electronic componentry. A lot of those signals also have a battery backup system underneath, so that if there were a power failure, we can continue to keep the traffic signals on to keep traffic flowing, because that's very important here in Cranberry.
Isn't the goal possibly that nobody should be slowed down by any influx of traffic, that everybody should zip right through to where they're going?
Well, zip is a very expansive explanation, but we do try to. When I get to talking about the principles, we we modify the green time. Our job is to keep people moving and have them sitting still as little as necessary. And so we work very diligently and try to keep that to the best that we can. Everybody's answer to having to wait in traffic is to give me more green time. But what they fail to realize is when you give this approach green, that approach has red. And so what we try to do is balance that the best that we can. On top of that is to keep all of the pieces and parts in that local intersection operating properly, because if something's not working correctly, the timing efficiency plans go out the window. So we work very hard to make sure that things are performing to the best of their ability at as much of the time as possible.
Right behind us are monitors, probably at most of the major intersections. There are cameras or all kinds of other devices. Are you checking license plates? Are you checking cars?
No, that's one of the first questions everybody asks. But here in Cranberry Township, we are not recording any of the video that you see behind us, and we're not deploying any of that license plate or red light running technology. None of that is in our repertoire yet.
The major intersection, I think, would be 228 and 19. There are lots of how many traffic lights are out there?
Cranberry has 41 signalized intersections. There's probably 25 signal heads up at 19 and 228. Cranberry also helps a couple of the neighbors with traffic signals. We actually maintain 48 signals.
Let's talk about some changes that I understand are coming before too long at that major intersection. What are they?
Well, we're constantly looking to revise the base timing plans. We're always looking to implement the best detection technology that's possible. And that particular intersection, we're collecting some unique data about when people actually hit the detection zone that goes into some long-term educational principles that we'll use in the future to help develop better up-to-the-minute timing tweaks.
Marty, thanks. We want to learn something about the past and the future to see where we're going in the future with traffic in Cranberry Township. Thanks for inviting us in.
No problem. Thanks for coming, and welcome.
Jason Kratzis is the Director of Engineering here in Cranberry Township. The traffic signal here, the whole system that we're looking at and that's right behind us, is really sophisticated. But let's go back 10, 15, 20 years. What was the system then?
Well, it's been quite a growth over the past 15 years. When you think 15 years ago, for example, Route 228 was a two-lane roadway going to our east, and we were just several signals going up and down Route 19. But as you see, over the last 20 years, we've grown to 48 signals, and this system that we have in front of you.
Was the system sophisticated like this one is?
No, it was based on strict timing. So you know, there wouldn't be the detection that you see out there, so the system wouldn't know that cars are coming up to the signal and wouldn't know to change the signal to account for them. So it was a straight timed signal that really didn't talk up and down the corridor.
Well, the population growth has been tremendous.
It has been.
Exponential, I think is what they say. Back then, there were planners here in Cranberry Township looking to the future. Mm-hmm. How accurate were their plans? How did they know what you needed today? Did they have any idea then?
Well, they did, and it really comes back to our Board of Supervisors' vision, and it was really a unique one about 20 plus years ago, where they said, we're going to take traffic serious here in Cranberry Township, and the way we're going to plan for it is we're going to mesh land use planning with transportation planning. So we're going to look at how the land in Cranberry Township is zoned. We're going to predict the traffic that could be expected from that zoning as the township builds out. We're going to stick to that. We're going to put the right people in place to execute the plan, and we're going to plan accordingly for it.
Could they actually predict the tremendous growth that's taken place? Not only people moving here, but Westinghouse coming here.
Yes, to a degree. I mean, obviously there are always changes within that plan and how the land develops. Westinghouse is a great example of that because one piece of land took on 4,000 jobs. And when you look at an area like Westinghouse, when you have 4,000 people leaving during 1 hour, that's a tough piece of traffic to deal with. But I will say the comprehensive planning and the comprehensive approach to traffic management has made it possible to deal with that.
You're always reapprising the situation. What's next in line? What's the next change that'll take place in this Cranberry Township traffic system?
Well, the next one that's coming is really the adaptive technology. technology, and that's really a signal system that's constantly counting not just the main lines, but also the side streets, and it's constantly changing and deploying timing patterns that best fit the situation. We will continue to move forward with the approach that you see behind you, but like I said, that will add more of a real-time, smart approach to the signal system.
With technology everywhere, obsolescence is always in somebody's mind who's running the system. Mm-hmm. There are always new methods and new technology. Will that mean that a lot of this here in 5 years will be obsolete?
I don't think so, because one of the things that our team has done, and I give Marty McKinney credit for that, is really stay on top of the direction of where traffic signals in our day and age are going. So really, as we make changes to our system, we take that very seriously, and we really do our research to make sure we're not making a change that will be obsolete in several years. So it's been important.
One change that we were just told about a few minutes ago is the traffic light itself. Mm-hmm. There are no bulbs in there anymore?
No, they're actually LEDs that are being run, and that's a green technology. One of the things you'll see with Cranberry as well is we're very green conscious right now with everything that we do, and the traffic signal was one of the first things that we went in that direction. You went from the old incandescent bulbs now to an LED that take half of or less of the power to run.
Let's talk about the major intersection again, 228 and 19, which is always jammed with cars. Mm-hmm. What do you foresee in the next 4 or 5 years there?
We'll continue to monitor the traffic there. I will tell you some of the projects that we've seen. We've really started to limit out the amount of lanes that can fit in that signal. But we will consistently, every 2 years, we go back and relook at all the traffic across the corridors, and we'll continue to monitor that intersection and change the traffic timing as necessary.
All of this is really expensive. Where does all the money come from?
Well, it comes from transportation planning. That when I talked about 20 years ago when our Board of Supervisors put a plan in place, they put what's called a transportation improvements program together. And what that means is when new development comes to Cranberry Township, they actually pay a fee so that they are paying their share of the upgrade of the system. So that provides a funding mechanism for Cranberry Township to go and make these improvements. That, as well as we have great partners at the Southwestern Planning Commission and at PennDOT that we're working constantly to find funding sources and really keep our system fresh.
Are there many other townships or many other communities in western Pennsylvania or anywhere that have this kind of a system?
Not really, no. Actually, I would put our system on par with what PennDOT's doing. So I really feel like we're one of the leaders in the industry as far as it goes, as far as traffic management goes. And I'm not just talking western Pennsylvania. I'm pretty proud to say I think we're as good as just about any township out there.
How do you know that? How do you know where to go? Is there a path that you can follow to learn about any newer techniques?
Well, that's one of the things that again, back to Marty. Marty spends a lot of time researching the industry. So he has contacts across the industry, not just at other townships and other DOTs, but also at educational facilities. So we're keeping tabs on that pretty well.
Good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Another one of the major services here in Cranberry Township is their sewer service, and we're at the sewer treatment plant where there's some major construction. Mike, what's going on here? What's all the construction about?
Well, Larry, we're undergoing a major plant expansion to stay in check with the growth in Cranberry Township.
And this is a pretty expensive plan, is it?
It is a very extensive plan, $45 million project. It's designed to expand capacity for the treatment plant for the next 20 years.
And how do you know exactly what the needs will be that many years out?
Well, we do a lot of extensive planning ahead of time. We look at our populations. We try to predict how much more growth Cranberry Township is actually going to receive and utilize that data along with some lab work to predict what our flows and loadings will be in the future.
Well, how was the last plan 10 years ago? Were they pretty accurate? Did they do what they had to get where you are today?
Absolutely. The last treatment plant expansion was in 1999, and we predicted we were going to start needing a plant expansion right around 2017, and it is 2017. We started about a year and a half earlier in construction and design.
I understand that this plant serves not only Cranberry Township?
Yes, the treatment plant serves Cranberry Township along with portions of Pine Township, Marshall Township, and New Sewickley Townships.
Before there was a sewer treatment plant in Cranberry, was it all septic tanks?
Cranberry Township was very rural back in the day. It was farm fields. You know, Cranberry Township actually received its name from the original cranberry bogs in the township. So prior to the 1950s, we were pretty much very rural and septic systems. In early 60s, the housing plan Fernway, which is right along the turnpike, was built, and that actually had its own water treatment plant and its own wastewater treatment plant. Then in the 1970s, right around 1973, the treatment plant was built on this location right here, and it was designed for a capacity of 500,000 gallons of water a day.
From there, how has the capacity increased?
Well, from the 500,000 gallon treatment plant process in 1973, we went and upgraded in 1978 to a 3.0 or 3 million gallon a day treatment process, which was a rotating biological contactor process. The original plant was built as an activated sludge plant. In 1999, we upgraded to a 4.5 million gallon a day plant, and we switched back to the activated sludge process. And then in 1999, we expanded. Or 2019, we're expanding to 6 million gallons a day.
Let's talk about how a sewer treatment plant works. Where does whatever comes out of the home come in at the plant site?
Yes, so the wastewater comes to our home, so anything we flush down our toilets, it goes down to our showers and sinks, are collected through the home sewer system through what we call a lateral. The laterals can connect to a main trunk line, and the main trunk lines is like a series of arteries in our bodies or in the ground, and they channel all the water to the wastewater treatment plant. This location is the lowest spot in the township. We try to utilize gravity to the best of our abilities. Water flows downhill, so everything is received to the wastewater treatment plant. Wastewater is about 98% water and 2% solids. Everything that you see behind me is designed to separate those solids from the liquids.
And how do you do that?
So the first step is we try to screen out the big materials, sticks, stones, rocks, paper products, plastic products. We have a mechanical bar screen that we deploy for that utilization. And then we slow the velocity to water down. The tank behind me is a primary clarifier, and it's designed to settle out heavy solids. So the solid material sinks to the bottom, the lighter material, which we would consider fats, oil, and greases, would float to the top. We would skim that material off either the bottom or the top, send that to digestion for further handling, and then what's left in the water is suspended matter, what we call colloidal. It doesn't sink, it doesn't float, and that is the food source that we utilize for a major process, which is a biological process, which is we call activated sludge. It is just a tank full of bacteria cells, and all they do is degrade the organic material, which is from the primary clarifiers, reduce that down to simple materials, carbon dioxide, water, other simple compounds, and more bacterial cells.
To make sure the system works, there must be some checking, some testing along the way. Tell us about that.
That's a great question, Larry. We actually do very extensive testing at our treatment plant. We have a laboratory that operates 7 days a week. There are certain parameters that were required by the PA, DEP, and the EPA to test for on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. There are more importantly, we have more internal testing that we utilize each and every day to understand how well the treatment process is functioning. We use that as the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, to try to perceive a problem or detect a problem before it actually becomes a major issue for us.
Okay, all the solids are one of the outputs, and of course all of the liquids. How pure is the liquid that comes out?
The liquid material is purer than what would be upstream of our treatment plant, which is Brush Creek. So the water going out of the treatment plant is cleaner than the water quality in Brush Creek itself.
And where does the water go?
The water goes from Brush Creek to the Connection River, to the Beaver River, to the Ohio, and eventually to the Mississippi, and then the Gulf of Mexico.
And then what do you do with the solids?
The solids are commingled and digested to reduce its volume. We add a chemical called polymer to make it a little bit thicker, like the consistency of chocolate milk. We're going to have a machine called a belt filter press that will press out the water from the solids. The solids we put into a 30-yard roll-off dumpster, and we currently landfill that material.
Do some plants do something beside landfill in the material?
Some plants actually do what we call in the industry beneficial reuse. That would be to take their solids and can utilize that for fertilizer, agricultural use, and issues like that.
Now, is there an odor sometimes when you're doing all this?
Yes, there are odors associated with wastewater treatment. Wastewater is very much of a biological process. So there's a lot of bacteria that actually utilize oxygen, and some of the bacteria actually generate other compounds without oxygen. Hydrogen sulfide, that rotten egg smell. We have a lot of processes, the digestion process, that create some other interesting molecules from a chemistry standpoint that we try to capture, contain, scrub, and clean out of the air.
Now, are most sewage disposal plants about the same as this, or is there something unique about the one here in Cranberry?
You know, wastewater treatments are very unique on their design, their operation, their waste characteristics. No two wastewater treatment plants look the same, operate the same, receive the same stream of waste. So that in itself makes our job very challenging.
Does the technology change? You're going through a multi-million-dollar addition here, expansion program here in Cranberry. Will the technology be any different in the future?
Absolutely. Our technology, one of our missions and goals is to try to be a leader in technology, try to produce the best water possible. We're adding a process, a membrane filter process, MBR is the acronym, that's actually going to make our water way better than it is now, almost to the point that it's drinking water quality, where they're going to filter out that many solids. With that process involves a lot more mechanical equipment, a lot more electrical equipment, more computerized controls. So the average operator that was just a guy, turning a wrench or a valve has to be well more educated, well more skill sets for the treatment plant of today.
It's interesting. We wish you well with your new construction and your expansion project. Thanks for having us out.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure.
So Jason Kratzis, the Director of Engineering for Cranberry Township, joins us again here at the Township Sewer Treatment Plant. And there's a huge construction project going on here. And how does someone decide what the future needs are going to be?
It really all comes to our comprehensive plan. Our Board of Supervisors, the last time that we upgraded this plant in 1999, they demanded that we really pay a close attention to how Cranberry is growing and where the demands are going to be, and know when we needed to come to this project. So that planning through the comprehensive plan and land use evaluation let the board evaluate when we would next need a sewer treatment plant upgrade, and that's where we're at now.
There's a lot of new technology coming on board with this expansion?
That's correct, yeah. Specifically, we have what's called a membrane technology, which really allows us to shrink the amount of space that we're doing the same type of sewage treatment and get a better product.
If there's an expansion 20 years from now, is there room on this site to do that?
Well, it's pretty tight. This is a pretty tight site, but that being said, with this expansion, we've really looked at the ultimate build-out of Cranberry Township. So when we went to look at what we needed to upgrade for, we wanted to make sure we were keeping up with the population changes and changing regulations with regards to how treatment is happening. And we're set up. We'll have another upgrade at some point dealing with the solid end. But what you see in front of you, really from the liquid end of the process, we're set up from a spatial standpoint to deal with it.
Now, there are still some people in Cranberry Township, I would imagine, on septic systems. Will they be required to come into the regular sewer system?
Well, ultimately, they probably would if sewage was available and or if they had trouble getting their septic system to work anymore. Our system's pretty expansive, and we touch most areas of the township. And then as soon as that sewer system does expand to their area, it certainly is to their advantage to tie into it, because our sewage system is a lot less of a headache for a property owner than a septic system.
Jason, let's talk about the planning process. The growth of Cranberry Township has doubled and tripled and quadrupled over the years. Is it likely that it'll continue at this pace over the next 10 or 20 years?
Well, Larry, where our population is now, we're right in the 30,000 range. And when I talked about that comprehensive plan, which takes us out another 20 years, that comprehensive plan calls for an ultimate build-out population of just around 50,000. So we still expect to see another, 15 to 20,000 people before Cranberry builds out.
Do you know why people come to Cranberry Township?
Oh, we're a great place to live, Larry. I think it all comes back to that visioning by the Board of Supervisors, 20 or 30 years ago. It was their vision to say, hey, we want a place where people can live, work, and play all in that same community. And as you drive around our community, I think it's safe to say that vision's been realized.
And there are parks and more parks being developed and so many other services here. We talked a while ago with you, as a matter of fact, about the traffic system. Yep. It seems to be that you're looking to the future to make sure that the population gets the services they need.
That's correct. Yeah, it's all about that experience that our resident has, whether it be from like you said, the parks that we're developing, to even that customer service experience when they call in and say they want an answer on something with their sewer. We have the team and the right people in place to make sure that experience is a good experience for them.
This sewer plant expansion will be a $45 million project. Who pays for it?
It's a ratepayer-driven project. But that being said, 20 years ago when we did our last expansion, our Board of Supervisors paid attention to what needed to be in place to make sure that wasn't a rate-driven deal that really impacted our residents heavily.
How long will this project take?
It'll be finished up at the beginning of 2019, March 2019.
And the way you envision it, it'll take care of all the needs for the next 20 years.
It will. Yeah, we're setting it up so that our future Board of Supervisor and residents have adequate services.
Good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you.
So those are two major projects in Cranberry Township here in southwestern Butler County. I'm Larry Berg. We'll see you next time on Faces and Places.